two mass shootings here in Baltimore. So about a week ago, Baltimore's police searched for suspects last Wednesday following two mass shootings in the city just hours apart the day before in a wave of violence. So the first shooting happened on North Rose Street near Monument, injured three people and left one man dead. And then just a couple hours later in Northwest Baltimore, five people were shot in another mass shooting. Leaders promised action, of course, to stop the violence. So we had a mass shooting in California. I mean, this is sad, and I honestly don't know what's going on. So I want to put this to you all, ladies. So firstly, these shootings are being categorized totally different. And when I say that, I mean by just amount of news coverage they're getting, the reactions that our politicians and leaders are giving them. So what makes each stand out more than the other? And, I have to ask, is it politics or is it exploitation that creates the difference? I want to start with you, Shelly.
Well, from the left's perspective, this is politics. They never let a crisis go to waste.
All right. I want to go to you, Yana. What are your thoughts on this? What makes I mentioned multiple mass shootings. Right now, the only one people are talking about is this one that occurred in Buffalo. What are your thoughts on this? Is it politics? Are they playing politics, or is this exploitation?
It's both. So in terms of media, they love the story like what happened in Chicago because it's racially motivated, and that's the kind of story that will have most views for them. So I think they just unfortunately are waiting for stories like that.
Right. What are your thoughts on this, T? With these
I'm
mass
sorry,
shootings?
I'm in Buffalo, not Chicago.
Oh, right. Yes. I mean, what are your thoughts on this, T? We see the news coverage. Some get more coverage than others. What do you think is the root cause of that?
It's definitely race baiting from their side. They want to pull in this emotional tie and make everything about race or prejudice, and so yeah.
Oh. And what are your thoughts on this, Colleen? As far as the coverage we've seen about these mass shootings, we're right here in Baltimore. We had one in California that's gotten very little coverage. What do you think the root cause of this is?
I think that the FBI had an idea that the Buffalo shooter was going to be radicalized at some point. I think that they knew he fit a profile that would become a threat down the line. And they were like, you know what? Let's keep an eye on this kid. Let's let him out. Even though he's threatened to shoot up a school, even though he has mental problems, we should allow him to watch our radicalized mainstream media narrative talking about the great replacement, about how the white population is declining. And we should just let this kid go free and we'll see what happens. I mean, I think they had a feeling that something like this would happen. I think they knew that this kid was a ticking time bomb and they let him go.
Yeah, and you brought up two good points there. So we are, as we know, this is election season, had a big primary yesterday, and then we have the general election at the end of the year in November. Are they just rolling this? Is this why they're choosing to focus on this Buffalo shooting? Because it fits the narrative, a Democrat narrative of white supremacy. And we know the Congress is actually talking about trying to pass this bill categorizing domestic terrorism. Have you guys heard about this bill? And what are your thoughts on that?
I want to respond to Colleen in just a few minutes, or I want to elaborate something she said. You mentioned the FBI, and this is true. What's interesting about these cases like this, as horrible as they are and as exploited as they are by the media, by the government, particularly this administration, from Columbine to Waukesha and in between, including the Buffalo, this savage piece of shit, this POS, these people, the FBI, mental health, advocates have a history on these people before they do the damage that they do. So we almost never hear about that. That's kind of hush-hushed in the media. We never hear about the tracking, that they had encounters with law enforcement, that they've been under some kind of mental health watch or instances before. We never hear about that. We hear about it one time maybe, and then it's hush-hush. And then they go immediately to the race. The man in Waukesha, I don't even want to call him a man. I call him a piece of shit as well. The guy in Waukesha that ran over those people, you didn't see 46 and Kamala Harris going there to, to, I don't know what, to console them. I don't even know what they do when they go. But this is exploitation to the utmost. And I'll say this, Black people in particular need to wake up. Because we in particular are being exploited by this administration. They're using the tragedy for their benefit, not for ours.
Yeah, and that's a good point, the benefit, because it is important to get to the root cause of these mass shootings. But instead, they play politics. So they want to play the blame game, and they only talk about a certain type of shooting, when we see these mass shootings very frequently in places like Baltimore, like Chicago, like Detroit. Where Freddie Gray was from, I'm sorry, where George Floyd lived. We see this stuff, but we don't see the same coverage because a lot of these places are Democrat run.
Well, and I'm just wondering about this bill that they want to pass. So it only came up now after this particular shooting, correct?
Well, they actually tried to pass something similar a couple of weeks or months ago, and it failed. Okay. Now they're hoping that it will pass because we just had this Buffalo mass shooting.
So how about, in Waukesha, wasn't that a racially motivated attack as well?
It was.
And so nothing came out from Congress after that. So are they going to treat these criminals, so these terrorists, the same way, regardless of who they are in terms of race and who they're attacking in terms of race?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because when they proposed the bill earlier on, the squad, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, they actually voted against the bill. They didn't like the language of the bill. And you know that they have said some very controversial remarks as well. And so they didn't want to be classified as domestic terrorists. So there is some controversy behind the bill, but this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to pass this bill. So now it's like they tried to call parents who were concerned about CRT at their schools domestic terrorists, and they try to stick the DOJ on them, or the FBI. Now they're doing the same thing with this going on. And is this the real problem that we're facing?
That's very interesting that they voted against it. It's actually very telling. So they know why they voted against it.
Absolutely.
Can I also say that I hate how every time some kind of hate crime like this happens, that the left-wing media takes the opportunity to somehow pin it on Fox News. They're like, now this is why we got to take Fox News off the air. And it's like, why? Oh, because it was in the manifesto, but that he likes Fox News. It's like, but that's not true. But still, anyways, don't regard facts. You know what I mean? Like, they literally will somehow, Tucker asked Chuck Schumer to come on his show to debate, and he refused. And like, apparently he got roasted on Twitter about it. But it's been really interesting watching them try to pin it on Tucker. And I'll be honest, I don't think this shit is working anymore. I don't feel like people are buying it. I certainly don't feel like the Black community is buying it anymore. I honestly
no, the Black community is buying it, and they're the ones that are still trying to carry this narrative that it's race related, because here we are now I hear them saying, this mass shooter in Buffalo, because he was white, he was able to walk out alive. He was able to not be killed, because all the Black mass shooters, they end up getting killed.
But the subway shooter, the subway shooter was like literally last month, and he was a Black man, and he was eating McDonald's. They got him at McDonald's. So it's like, they can't, like, people can't say that anymore. They can't say, oh, well, what if he's Black? We have like literally recent instances where the perpetrator is black, and they have.
But even if it wasn't a mass shooting,
yeah, right here.
There are people every day in the cities that KJ named, from Chicago to LA, Dallas, Baltimore, Philadelphia, on up around the East Coast and all throughout the country. There are cities every day, predominantly Democrat, predominantly urban, urban people, maybe black, that are murdered every day. Particularly in Baltimore, by another black person in Baltimore, and there is virtually silence. You can hear pin drops, except for us few and maybe a few others. You hear pin drop. So black people, like T said, black people are buying this exploitation rhetoric.
I don't think for long. I feel like this is kind of. I feel like people are going to start waking up soon. I don't feel like this is going to be going on much longer. I mean, how much more can gas get? We're all like, dude, fuck this guy. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you're talking about just that,
die. Exactly. So
if you're just talking about that, but I mean, slowly but surely, I am seeing that there are more black people who are like, wait a minute, something's not right here. We're starting to see the trend. I mean, years later, now they want to catch up, but it's not still, there's still just a stronghold and brainwash there that they're not going to let go.
Right. And that's the thing. Someone just commented, Rita says, why are people so focused on skin color? And that's a good question, because a lot of times they say it's due to racism or mental health. And so depending on the person's skin color, depending on the skin color of the shooter, then that's what makes the difference in what they say. When all of these people are mentally ill, it's in my opinion. But they shouldn't. I don't think they should concentrate on the skin color. I actually like how the Daily Wire does it, where they won't even post the killer's name, photo, anything. They don't post it. They just they'll give his name, or they'll say this person, but they don't do that because it's as if we're creating this popularity and this celebrity for.
And reading his manifesto is only adding more power to it. So when the leftist media is reading the manifesto, I'm like, why are you reading that shit? Like, that's literally a criminally insane person. Like, why the fuck does anybody want to read that?
Yeah, and not only that, but they don't even read it correctly. So they pick parts out of it and then they spin it. They put the narrative on it, and it's incorrect. Yeah. Just like they said that, talked about Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is a Jewish American, and he was talked about in the manifesto. But they're trying to spin it and say that this man was provoked by conservatives. Yeah, MSNBC. They had said something about Ben Shapiro being involved, or they tried to pin it on him like Tucker. Right. And and his comment was like, what the hell? I mean, like, literally, I mean, I don't know how much more lies people can really buy. I mean, that just blatant lies. So it is. We have to wake up. We have to do our own research. We have to be critical thinkers, because the news is no longer our what we thought it was. It's no longer fact checkers who provide just the facts. They are skewed, and I mean far skewed.
Yeah, it has not been like this. They have not been honest for a long, long time. I mean, every media organization has an agenda. Mm-hmm. So they need to show a certain view of the story. So whether it's funny because they'll be shutting down like international, let's say, news station. Like they shut down the Russian TV station in America because they have a point of view. But every news organization has a point of view. So you should be able to let people decipher what to watch and have more channels available, actually, so people can get more news and more information than less.
Absolutely. And this is how we solve problems. Do they want to solve the problems that we have? Do we want to figure out why this is happening? No, they just want to play politics.
Yeah. They have to keep us hyper focused on race in order to keep power, because then if we all get along, then we're going to be like, dude, fuck Joe Biden. Why are we paying $5 a gallon? Why is baby formula gone? Why is this? Why? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Like, I mean, if we all were to actually get along, then but we are
We are still talking about that. We're talking about what the gas prices are, why they're high. We see the inflation. We see it before our eyes, but for some reason, they don't want to do anything about it. They
Because
want to just
it's
blame the Republicans for everything. When they're
or,
still
or
blaming Trump.
Putin. It's Putin's fault.
Trump. They're definitely still blaming Trump for everything.
Ultimately, they want to. Yeah, ultimately, they want to shut us up. They want to get rid of Fox and any other Ben Shapiro, any other news or outlet that is telling the opposite, the truth in most cases of what the mainstream is telling. If they cut off the communication, if they cut off that information, then we won't be able to talk with each other.
Yeah, it's like the Capitol in Hunger Games. You know, they just want to control everything and become these, for lack of a better word, oligarchs, and we are the lowly people just being shuffled around like pawns in a game. Yeah. So we will continue to follow these stories. We are here, here on Poppin' Politics. We are not just presenting to you what is big in the mainstream media. We want to, unpack it all. And, just like this, it was a tragedy what happened in Buffalo. This kind of stuff or similar situations are happening almost every day in cities across this country. So this is what we need to be talking about, and something needs to be done about it. And it won't happen if we continue to be misled and just led around by what unfortunately the leftist media wants to paint, what narrative they want to paint each day. So please continue to comment, join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. While you're watching, share this broadcast. Share it on YouTube. If you're watching there, comment, share it on Facebook, share it to your friends, send it in Messenger if you can. The more times you comment, the more people you share it with, the greater chance our audience will widen. And this is what we need: independent media bringing you things that no one else is talking about. So please continue to subscribe and share. All right, I want to go through some of the comments. We do have some here before we move on to our next topic. So we have here, let's see, Stephen. Legacy media is only selling their narratives. Truth be damned. That's true. That's true. Rita, she said, I have family members of all colors, family with Asian ancestry, African ancestry, Native American ancestry, and Hispanic ancestry. I love each one of them. I just can't grasp why there are race issues. Well, Rita, stay tuned. We are going to talk about that a little later on in the show. So we're going to dig right into that, actually. So stay on, please. All right. So moving right along to our pop-off round. So this is, like we do this. We didn't do it last week, but basically, ladies, I need you to pop off on a topic, on trending topic, and provide your reaction in 30 seconds or less. So tonight, starting with you, Colleen. All right, take a look at this graphic. This is a post from Chris Palumbi. He is running for Congress here in Maryland. He says we have an administration that is more focused on blaming others and creating cringe and misleading marketing slogans. And he hashtag Putin price hike and also hashtag Ultra MAGA instead of fixing their horrible politics and policies. So my question to you, Colleen, is you changed parties from Democrat to Republican, and I think you consider yourself ultra MAGA. So what is ultra MAGA, and is it threatening, or is it as threatening as the leftist media and Democrats like to make us believe?
Well, I think it's kind of like a trolling thing now at this point, because it's like they give us such ammo with that kind of stuff. When they say ultra MAGA, we're like, yeah, ultra MAGA, so we run with it every time, like let's go Brandon, ultra MAGA. I mean, whenever he comes up with some kind of phrases or somebody close to Biden or something about Biden comes up, we love running with it. So it's like, it's kind of like the fun club that anybody can join at any time. And we got hats for members, so. But I mean, I will say that tweet is so spot on. They really do make these stupid trends and stupid tweets for how they can try to describe these problems that are happening, clearly because the Democrats spent all of our money on COVID and now Ukraine in a war we're not even in. And now we're broke and we're basically just kind of, hoping on a prayer right now and just hoping that we don't run into a recession. But many economists are saying we will. So yeah, the tweet was spot on.
All right. And I believe we are in a recession. So, all right, moving right along to you, Shelly. Mayor Brandon Scott is expected to work with the city council to establish a fund to support organizations that protect reproductive rights and health, so abortion. Councilman Zeke Cohen and fellow lawmakers made the ask in the form of a resolution approved last night by the council in the wake of widespread concern as the U.S. Supreme Court is poised to strike down Roe v. Wade decision that guarantees the right to an abortion. My question to you is, what are your thoughts on this? All the stuff we have going on in Baltimore City, education, crime, and they keep complaining about lack of funds for the public school system, and they whip this up really quickly. What are your thoughts on this proposal and how it compares to what's going on in the city?
My thoughts, number one, shame on them. Number two, I'm at the point now where I'm calling them frauds. And frauds, not that they may be, or at least Patricia Porter and I think Zeke Cohen were the sponsors of this proposal, but they're frauds in that they don't represent any constituency except themselves primarily. It's amazing how they can quickly, like you said, they come together so quick to put proposals together and fund anything that is going to destroy communities, destroy lives, destroy babies very quickly. Almost it's like overnight. They laid down one night and woke up and this was done. But yet anything that requires them to pay attention and to put at least that much effort, like you said, into education, into crime, this BS that Mayor Scott comes up with about this smart policing or whatever other acronym you want to use, we're not getting anywhere. Crime is out the root, okay, out of the stratosphere, for instance. But yeah, they can come together and he's all bushy haired and bushy tailed saying that he's going to support this travesty while literally Baltimore is burning and burying its dead. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah. All right. Moving right along to you, Yana. So this week, actually last night, Project Veritas dropped some bombshell videos for undercover work. One video in particular, they show an undercover Project Veritas person talking to a Twitter exec. And the Twitter exec is giving some information about what he feels will happen if Elon Musk comes on board. Take a look at this clip, and then I want your response.
You get what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I think at the end of the day, the real truth is that they can't ever really say it's all about money. It's all about money and making all these money. Parag, Jack, the board members, everyone gets paid. Elon gets tax benefits, doesn't have to pay taxes forever.
Right.
Everything. It's all a money shit greed America.
Elon Musk as a person is whatever. I don't. He's a Looney Tune. He has Asperger's.
Yeah, I know that.
So he's special. We all know that. And that's fine. So you know he's gonna say some crazy because he's special. Because again, don't you also see his piece of? Why can't we just all love each other? Haven't you seen his other tweets where he's like, "I'm like you're special needs. You're literally special needs." Literally, though, you really are. So I can't even take what you're saying seriously.
Okay, actually, that is that was not the part I needed, but I'll ask you this because one part
Okay.
of the video, he said that how they censor people on Twitter. So he basically said that Elon Musk wants to come in and pretty much open it up for free speech. And he said that they can't do, he believes that they are pretty much fighting a higher moral cause and that it's up to them to stop people from pretty much having their own free speech. And so I want to get your thoughts on that idea. Basically, this is how he's very liberal, and he believes that it's their jobs to police people on what they say. It's their moral calling, and free speech is no good for people. So, what are your thoughts on that idea?
Well, he's not liberal exactly. He's actually totalitarian. So yeah, we shouldn't even be calling people. There's no liberty whatsoever in these people. He's totalitarian. We already heard from another Project Veritas recording how they're very much communists there, and they run Twitter in a very weird. Even communists didn't do it like that. So like he was saying something like they don't care about profit, they don't care about making money, it doesn't matter how much you work. I mean, anyway, and then they're making fun of like a disability, which is really interesting because that is something that they would destroy somebody, if anybody said anything like that on Twitter or anywhere. So, and it makes me think of, again, in Soviet Russia, we had a newspaper called Pravda, it means the truth. And so that's where you were supposed to go to get the truth. And of course, all of that was, meticulously checked and to make sure that people are receiving the truth that they're supposed to know. So that is what Twitter is. They're being Pravda of I don't know, the world. That's what they're trying to be.
Okay. All right. And finally, T, take a look at this video, and then I wanted to get your response.
King is the man that fought for freedom, or the fact that he was cheating on his wife?
Jesus. I'm going to give you this example. He's a great father. He's a great businessman. He's a great CEO. He's an entrepreneur. He's such a boss.
He's a boss.
Look at that man. He's a boss.
Look at him.
He's a great father. Look at him, that strong black man.
Look at him being at his kid's game.
But you're cheating on your wife. You're not a good husband. But he's great in all these other aspects. How are you a great leader, a great CEO, a great black man? You're not great.
You're
not great. God, you're not. That is triggering.
Yeah,
well, I'm a good dad. You're not a good dad because you don't respect me. How the fuck you showing these kids you a good father and you don't respect their mother? You're not a great dad, my nigga. You're an okay human.
Someone being a good person to you means they're a good person to you. Someone being a good person to everyone means that they are a good person.
So, a couple things to unpack, but I want you to just, if I could, respond to the part where she's talking about the fact that this man cheats on his wife, but is still held up to be a great person. And so they are saying that he can't be because he's cheating on his wife. So how can you, if you're cheating on your wife, disrespecting your wife, then how can you also be looked upon as a great dad or a great business person? Just great overall is from what I'm gathering she was trying to say, when you're not a great person. You may be a great business person, but you're not a great person because you are cheating on your wife. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, no one is perfect, and greater is the head that wears the crown, because when you are a leader, you're expected to be perfect, and it's contradicting because no one is perfect. And I get their point. But they're also speaking from a bitter perspective because obviously they've been cheated on. But I get their point where they think that, because you cheat on your wife, you're not a good person. But I wouldn't say that. That just makes you a cheater. You're a cheater. You might still be a good father. You can still be a good businessman. You can still be a good CEO, but you cheat on your wife. It doesn't have anything really to do with your total person, because no one is perfect. And especially men, it's easy for men to be tempted because of women that may tempt them.
Mm-hmm. And what about the part where she said, what are your thoughts on if a mother cheats or a father cheats? Does that say anything about their being a good father or a good mother?
Absolutely not. It has nothing to do with how you treat your children. Just because you would like to, go outside of your relationship or your marriage, because you're only really cheating if you're married. Any other time, it's not really cheating.
So if he cheats on his wife, that's nothing to say about him being a good father or her being a good mother.
Not at all. Not at all. It has nothing to do with that.
All right. So again, that was our pop off. So we do this every we check the comments periodically throughout the show. So if you have a comment or question regarding any of these pop offs, please leave a comment. Do you have a question for our co-host? Email me, KJ at Metro Conservative Media. We will ask the co-host your question during our next show. So we're having a pop. Okay. Yep. So again, if you have a question or you want to have a question for the co-host, pop off for our next show, email me or just put a comment in here about the response that they gave tonight. All right. So moving right along to our next topic. And I told you we would talk about this, Rita, if you're still there. We are talking about racial categories. So do racial categories actually mean anything? Or should we have a colorblind society? Basically, is it important to acknowledge or appreciate racial differences? And what are the effects of focusing on race? So I want to just open that up to you all. I'll start with you, Shelly. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Focusing on race or these constructed racial categories that we have, that we know of today, will get us and will keep us exactly where we are, in confusion with a lot of chaos.
All right. What are your thoughts, Yana? Is race identification important? And I'm not talking about just as far as your physical, as far as like doctors, or if you're giving a description of a crime, someone in crime. I'm talking about in everyday social society. Is it important to recognize and identify race? And when we are, and we kind of do that now, what effect is that having on our society?
Well, I think because race is connected to culture, a lot of times people kind of mix up the culture and race when it's not always the same thing. So I think that we should be moving towards an understanding that a person's physical characteristics don't necessarily define what that person is like, as what kind of culture they have, what kind of views they have. So we should not be assigning those things based on what the person looks like.
Okay. All right. What are your thoughts on this, T? Is racial identification important in relationships, in social relationships, in romantic relationships? And what effect does this focus, if we do focus on that, what effect does that have on society?
I think that it does matter. I think that race is the most obvious identifier as a person. Like I see you, I see me. You can obviously tell what it is. And then, as Yana said, the cultures are also different as well. In a relationship, it takes a little bit more understanding because of those cultures mixing together. So I think it's very important. I think that people should not say, "Oh, I'm blind, colorblind," because you're not. I mean, you can obviously see the color. Like, I mean, it's a good sentiment, but color does matter.
Mm-hmm.
Race does matter.
I want to go back to that because I want to get to you, Colleen, but I want to go back to that thought because how does it matter? That's what I want to, after we finish with you, Colleen, I want to open it up to you guys. How does it matter? But I wanted to, give you the initial question, Colleen. Does race actually, does it matter? Should we acknowledge or appreciate the differences, or should we have a colorblind society?
Well, when I was a Democrat, I thought that we were trying to push towards a colorblind society. I thought that that's what we were trying to accomplish. I thought, like, more or less, we were trying to go for anybody walks in a room and nobody thinks anything differently about what they look like. Everybody just acts the same no matter what. But I didn't understand that it really, kind of June 2020 and stuff like that. That's kind of when they really wanted to split us up. But I will say that racial tensions are very important to the Democrat playbook. So that I will say, like, that's going to be like my piece there. But more than anything, I thought as a Democrat that that's what we were trying to accomplish. I learned the hard way and had to leave the party.
Okay. And I want to go back to something T said. Race does matter. So in what way does it matter, and why should it be important? Or to the contrary, you have people who say, we should take it off of admission tests. We should take it off of college admission and identifying people for jobs. And then as far as our social environment, it shouldn't matter what people's races is. It should just be pretty much you just meet people and you go off of their character. Well, why would it matter? Why should it matter? Just open it up to anybody.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, because we have different cultures. We have different ways that we do a lot of things. We do have similarities in some way, but we most different, especially when it comes to Black and white, but without going to the different cultures within those races or whatever, but ethnicities. But
I have a question about that. What is the culture? I mean, are you saying that all Black people in America all have one culture?
No, but we do bring season to society. The Black people in general, we're that flavor for the United States. Well, I mean, now that we're here with the flavor, a lot of white people should appreciate the flavor that African Americans or Black people bring to society, because there is a difference. Flavor, whether it be food, dance, sports, whatever, there's a difference culturally.
Well, I don't know. Well, I'll ask you, what does that mean? We bring flavor, but before you answer, please. I think the culture of individuals matters more than the skin color. Reducing someone to their skin color is dehumanizing. That basically says that because of my skin color, I can only fit in this box, or I'm only this way, or I belong to this, I don't know, tribe or whatever. But that's one thing. Number two, I think Black Americans, now remember, I consider myself a Native American because I was born here. But I think Black Americans, by and far, we only see race through this prism of black and white. There is a whole big world of people, all different skin shades, colors, and they have similar circumstances maybe that they've gone through that a lot of Black people in the United States say that they have gone through. So I don't understand why just reducing someone to their skin color and what that means about flavor. I'm not.
You're the one that reduced. I never reduced anyone to color.
No, I'm using that word, but what does that mean by flavor?
Well, she did say. She said she believes Black people bring flavor, meaning spice and she said when you said music, sports,
food, music, sports, dance. We're the ones that started when it comes to arts and entertainment and culture, especially here. We're the ones that started. I mean, we're the first people on the earth, so of course we're going to be influenced by. Or others will be influenced by us and what we do and how we do things. But that's what I mean.
Okay, well, I do understand what you're saying. Like, for example, like jazz, like that is something that was started by Black people in
Chicken
America,
genre.
it's
it doesn't matter.
it's known around the world, and everybody is then picked
Music
it up.
is universal. Dance is universal.
What?
I mean, I can see what she's saying. I want to go back to something Colleen said about the Democrat Party and how they like to bring up race a lot, because I mean, of course we can recognize different cultures, but then we don't want somebody using that racial identity or something that has happened to people.
That's different.
Yeah, and so sometimes it's good to maybe remember your heritage, but then when it comes to like identifying people just by skin color and saying, well, these people like what they try to say is always oppressed, always a victim, then you end up creating that victim mentality in the society where it's not, and it causes division. So it seems like the more and more we focus on these physical characteristics, we're not thinking as one anymore.
I don't think so.
Well, I don't want to think as one with anybody. I don't want to think as one, like a whole global thought either. I want to be able to still have
as a country,
individuality.
As a country.
I mean, if we're talking about facts here, the facts are that we are different. Like, I could look at you, Yana, and look at me and know that we're different.
But are we both Americans?
Races.
Though?
We're not talking about. We're talking about races.
That's what I'm talking about.
But that's where the culture is, right?
We're talking about races now. When we get into victimhood and oppression, that's where it's wrong. That's where the manipulation is. But it's obvious as an identifier that is race.
But that's my question. How do we pick and choose when to look at race and when not to look at race? So that's my question.
Because T and Yana might look differently, but you have very similar thoughts. So it's like that's kind of where we come to, because
we're still a different race though.
Right. But Democrats will literally say, because
how does it matter? That's the question.
Right.
Does it matter?
Right. Well, I mean, I personally don't think it does. And I wish we could make it so that somehow, I want to celebrate cultures and celebrate our differences. I do like Black History Month. I mean, I know some conservatives are like, well, there needs to be something for everybody or something. But no, I do think that Black History Month is important. And
well, thank you, Colleen.
I do like Black History Month.
Well, thank you, Colleen.
I've always liked it. I mean, because there was a lot of history that we weren't taught in elementary schools. I mean, I can't say that now. I'm sure that they definitely, well, I don't know. I feel like they don't even highlight the right Black, trailblazers that should be highlighted. I don't even feel like we can trust the leftists to pick the right ones, like the ones that we actually want.
So KJ, if I can answer your question, attempt to at least, it only matters if people think that one skin color is better than the other.
Yeah.
Pick your choice. That's when it matters. And that's why I think Black conservatives we disprove the left's obsession with race. You know why? Because anybody on the left, when they see a Black conservative, they call us all kinds of names. Skin color be damned. Skin color is not important then. What matters is that our values and our thinking is not theirs. So this is how we disprove that the left only uses skin color when it benefits them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, and that's what because that's why I asked this question, because anytime you put emphasis on something like that, so on race, you're automatically going to get the categorization or what's higher, what's lower. That's just the natural progression of it.
And also, I don't know. I do a little. I guess I understand the whole culture thing, but I do struggle with this concept that you can just look at a person and just know their culture. I mean, you don't. You really don't. Like we have. I mean, I come from Russia. In Russia we have over 50,000 Black people. I mean, it's not a lot, but I mean, it's not like comparatively, but still. I mean, I knew people who were from Africa, but they grew up in Russia. They were more Russian than anything else. So it's like you can't know the person's culture unless you get to know them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have. I want to go to this comment. So Tyrone Keys says, you can look at a Black cat and a white cat, and the first thing you see is a cat. Why doesn't it work like that in humanity? scientifically, there is one race of humans, Homo sapien.
I see the difference. I see a black cat or a white cat.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's still a cat, but I still see the color of the cat because it's an identifier of their color. I mean, it's like, I don't know why we're trying to look over the fact that we can see color.
Right. But I guess his point is that a black cat and a white cat, ultimately, they're still cats. One is not better or worse than the other. The cat, the description of white, it's only their coat color.
I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying that there is a difference.
Well, and
that is your preference. So you might prefer one color over the other, but the cat is not going to behave a certain way just because it's a black cat or a white cat.
Well, they're not humans. So.
Just for I want to bring this to you for argument's sake, because when you do look at the different races of people, for instance, African Americans are generally found to be, of certain athleticism, of certain, athletic build, muscular tone generally. There's certain, workhorses, for lack of a better word. And then you see, for instance, like Asian Americans or Asians are generally a smaller frame, but they do tend to have intellect, higher intellect across the board. So, I mean, you do see certain differences depending on the race. Is that true? I mean, do you guys agree with that or not?
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. We have patterns of behavior. Yes, there are always going to be outliers. There are going to be times when humans are unpredictable and there are things that we just can't even imagine, but lo and behold, they may happen. But it's not necessarily based on just because their skin color is one color versus another.
I mean,
I don't think not one person on this earth is the same exact as another person, no matter what color they are.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that in groups, in our DNA, in something, I can't explain it, I'm not a doctor, but there are cultural differences. There are differences that KJ, Shelly, and I will have the same similarities that KJ, Shelly, and I will have that Yana and Colleen may not have. Because we identify as.
Yeah, I agree that the genetics do play a role in something that the person has predisposition towards. So like if, because we know that genetics does work. So if you breed, a certain type of living being a certain way, they're going to eventually show certain characteristics. So it does.
Phenotype.
Yeah. Well, and in terms of talents and things that you may be better than others in. However, generally speaking, in my opinion, I think that the environment plays a bigger role than those genetic predispositions.
I think that if a Black person grew up in an Asian family, once they got around other Black people, they would notice similarities that even the experiences they didn't have even growing with the Asian family. They would still get a group of people, and once the video come on, they'd be like, hey, because that's a Black girl, that's a Black person thing. We say, hey.
I don't
think that may be something, but I still think we can look up the statistics on this.
Black people say, hey.
Intellectually, Asians are intellectually smarter than a lot of other races. I don't think it has something to do with the home life, of course.
It does,
but it's not the number one. They just have a predisposition to this.
Mm-hmm. I really think that culture plays so much into it, because if the tables were switched, where Black people were in the place of white people, and during this times of slavery, white people would be in the same predicament as Black people are now in today's society, where we have, more broken homes and stuff like that. It would happen no matter what the skin color is if you are given those circumstances.
So this is the age of
about physicality. I mean, we do know. I mean, this is another statistic. When you look at African Americans, and I didn't do African Americans, any of these people generally speaking, they're just more physically fit. when they even work out, when they do types of work, as far as weights and things, the tone of the muscle forms a lot faster than other, ethnicities. Just with running, you have these Kenyans that come up. They're not taking Japanese. The Kenyans are the ones that overwhelmingly, year after year, blow out these marathon races. So if you had an Asian raised in Kenya, that doesn't mean that they're still going to be one of these marathons. It is in the makeup. There is a makeup about it that
so those Kenyans,
but that's not culture. That's what we're saying. That's not culture.
Well trained, right? The environment that they're in, the athletes are well trained. They get a lot of individualized or professional training, and so that's the environment that they're in to train for their craft or their talent.
I agree with KJ. Like a French soccer team.
You take a bunch of boys, and there are certain kids, they don't have to have any training. They can just get out there and just do it.
Males tend to have more muscles than females, more musculature.
I'm not comparing male and female. I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying so. In that sense, boys will. So I mean, I don't know if it matters because of their skin color. Is that? I don't understand.
It's not the skin color. It's the genetic makeup. It's the genetic makeup that they have. Like the French soccer team is pretty much all African. So I mean, they play a lot better. I mean, wouldn't.
Wait a minute. Is it because they're African? Their skin color?
Yes.
No. It's because
that's exactly why.
Not just the skin color. It's everything. Other factors that they have about them. The genetic predisposition to be
like what?
Like what KJ said. I mean, being strong and fast, and be able to basically play the game better than a lot of Europeans. I mean, it is the fact. They wouldn't choose someone who they wouldn't believe would win. So I mean those are facts, but that's not culture. That is, I mean, different. Even within a certain race, people can have better genetics in different aspects. So
I'm saying, but that doesn't mean that's not based on their skin color.
Music. I mean, music ability different. I mean, one white person may not have. Oh, so we don't have composers in Europe. We don't have
some of the
ballet.
best composers.
We do not have opera.
Lady Gaga is amazing.
Hello. No, I'm talking about classics. I mean, we do not have good actors. I mean, we have tons of talented people. So that is, but not every white person obviously has those talents. And the same thing with Black people. But there's certain things that maybe some people are better at genetically. And
right, I'm just saying it doesn't have anything to do necessarily with their skin color.
So what does skin color? If aren't all Africans is people of color?
No, then some Africans look as light as Colleen do. Colleen is.
Oh, you mean South Africans typically?
Yeah, my point is that just because a person's skin color is darker or lighter doesn't mean that they're going to have these talents based on their skin color. They still have to have some.
I guess it would be ethnicity.
Say that again.
I guess it would just be ethnicity.
No, well then that would mean that if you're saying that would mean that only Black people or dark skinned people, we're only going to be made to run, and then only lighter skinned people are going to be made to compose.
Shelly, I have a question, Shelly. Shelly, I have a question for you. Can you imagine? Right? Can you imagine?
Height is also actually a
yes, it is.
Thing. So there's certain groups of people that are like tall,
so we're predispositioned to run. We're just predispositioned to run fast.
Shelly, can you imagine just in the United States without Black people? What do you think? How do you think that would look in America?
So if there were no Black people here?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it would look because I was born here, so I don't know how it would look without Black people. Black people have been all over the world. We've been all over the world.
I'm not talking about the world. I'm talking about in America.
There has not been a place where there has not been Black people.
I'm saying take away the.
I personally think that we were all created by God to have different. We each have different gifts. Not saying Black people aren't smart, or can't be intelligent. I'm not saying that at all. Or I'm not saying that Asian people, aren't aren't good at sports or aren't good in physical conditions. What I am saying is there is a disposition based on ethnicity for different ethnicities. So Africans, people of color, generally are more physical. They have physical attributes. Someone commented, it's a book about this, actually. There's a book.
It's a book about a lot of things. They have books about the different size skulls and made Black people look
Shelly,
like they were dumb.
I don't understand
so
why.
What? I mean,
why is it making you so upset to be? Why can someone be? I guess like T would say proud of that. Like for example, in Europe,
be upset about it.
Proud. Like Russians, we will remember that. Oh, we have Viking ancestry. We have the Scandinavian ancestry. The tall, the strong. The people who have also conquered parts of the world very early on, even possibly went to America before Columbus. And so there's things that Europeans also bring up about their physical attributes that they're proud
they're great conquerors, the Europeans.
Yeah, the Vikings, the Scandinavians, I mean, we do remember that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you can be upset, you can be statistics show this is the case. I mean, anywhere you go, if you take it doesn't have to be taught. Anywhere you go, sometimes there's a predisposition amongst different ethnicities for different gifts or different cultures. But we still need everybody, to actually get
to make
stuff
the world go around.
And it doesn't mean just because someone is predisposed to be a big fast runner, they can also be really good at math at the same time. So actually, it's a better combination.
Isn't that it's a bad thing to have cultural differences? It's not a bad thing. You guys are looking at it like, oh, because you got dark skin, maybe you're stupid, or you can't, or if you're white skin, you're not athletic or can't play an instrument. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there are racial identifiers to help people to see that colors. And then the next layer is, there are cultural differences as well.
Well, yeah, I know there are cultural differences. I'm saying that just because someone's skin is different doesn't mean that you can automatically say, oh, they're predispositioned for something based on their skin color.
Yeah, I agree. Not everybody.
But generally, you can say that.
You can say it, but that doesn't make it so.
I mean, I agree with Shelly that you cannot. But
I think just because somebody's skin color is such, you can say what their predisposition.
I'm talking about ethnicity. Yana corrected it. It was not skin color; it's ethnicity. There are certain ways certain people are just predispositioned to do well on certain different areas.
Genetics. But
genetics,
I think what Shelly is saying is that you can't just, if you meet a person like one individual, you cannot assume what they're good at physically.
That's true. Yeah.
And also you cannot assume their culture. That's what I was saying too.
Right.
So
right. I agree with that. So definitely this topic really made me think, because a lot of time I think I don't want to go in with a predisposition about people. I don't want to assume something about someone. I think we all have interests, we all have likes and dislikes, but I think overall, if we can get to a colorblind society, I think that's the key. Because to me, it's just like every time we keep talking about race in everything, it skews everything to me. And so I think we do, and I've changed on this, because I didn't think like this, but I'm starting to see how the left is twisting it.
Well, that's where it goes wrong, because you can maturely be able to compartmentalize when it comes to race. Because I see color, but I still respect people and I'm cordial to everyone, but I still see color, and I still, keep the same, feel like we have cultural differences, but I'm gonna still talk to the same people no matter what type, even within the Black community, poor, rich, whatever, white, it doesn't matter. I'm still gonna treat you the same, but I see difference.
Okay.
And they manipulate the whole situation. That the left, they know that Black people are the most gullible, so they're going to be race baiting and trying to emotionally attach to their oppression.
Well, let me say that also, when I was a Democrat, I mean, I basically, like, the first time I ever saw Candace Owens, I was like, who is that? You know what I mean? Like, I never saw a Black woman talk the way she talks. Like, I never, you know what I mean? So as a Democrat, I was like, what? I've never in my life. I literally was down rabbit holes the rest of the day trying to hear this girl talk more. I was like, I've never heard anybody talk like her before.
Well, now you see 3 more.
Exactly. I love it. I mean, I have so many favorite influencers as well, you know, like Larry Elder and Thomas Sowell and all them. So, like, of course I found so many more to follow as well. But like, you know, when you're a Democrat, you really do think that, you know, Black people are more likely to lean left. And I mean, that is statistically true, but I mean, you would already have that predisposition. Like, you would have it in your mind, like, they're definitely a Democrat. And if they're not, they're crazy. Like, you know, so
They're not Black.
that was really weird for me to come to terms with, like, because I thought we were on the colorblind side. I thought that's what we were achieving in the Democrat Party. I thought that's what we were going for.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Let me go to some of these comments here. So we have here, Chris Anderson says, no, he's not. He's from there, not an African. So I think he's talking about Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, yeah.
Okay. So let's see.
He is an African. What is he talking about? He is an African. He's a South African.
Right, but whatever.
That's Africa.
Farhan says, watching the next generation of Republicans, I like. Oh, thanks for watching.
Oh.
Please continue to share this broadcast. Send it to your friends by message or on their social media. Let's see here. We have Chris. His DNA places him someplace else.
Who's this?
Elon Musk.
Is Elon Musk again?
Oh. I guess he's talking about Elon Musk.
Yeah, that's a good question. Is he African in name only, or how does that work? Or is he African from ancestry? Is there a difference there? That's a good question.
Why? I mean, he's from Africa. He's an African. What? I mean, what is his DNA? I mean, what is going to get a draw from him and put it on the slide and look at it?
Well, I think it's important to mention
the country
that he's from. So, like, if he is from an African country, we can name that country. That's where he's from.
As far as I understand it, it's South Africa.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's South African. Okay,
he's an African.
I agree.
It's in Africa.
Yes, South Africa is part of Africa.
Yeah. So is Egypt. Believe it or not, some people don't believe that Egypt is in Africa as well.
Who doesn't?
The people that try not to distinguish this.
Well, people from the Middle East,
that the Egyptians brought to the world.
There are people from North Africa who come to America, and I mean, they actually check the white box.
Oh yeah, some Caribbeans do too. We have Tyrone. He says Elon is more African than most of the population of Baltimore City. Africa is a place, not a culture.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't consider I call myself Black. I don't even.
I say I'm a Native American. So I'm not African.
No. All right. So we are moving right along. Again, join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. And as I mentioned, subscribe. Subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. Check us out on the web at www.metroconservativemedia.com for up-to-date information. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, so our last topic of the night, talking about categories, racial categories, is BLM. So BLM taxes leaked this week, and
for them.
And Candace Owens is releasing a documentary about the controversial group. So it came out this week that they have spent a lot of money on themselves. So all the millions of dollars they could collected as a group or organization, very little has gone to help Black lives other than theirs. So I want to question this to you guys. Is the organization losing legitimacy among Blacks and Democrats? Or are these revelations going to be overwhelmingly ignored? So I want to start with you, Shelly. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think both things are going to happen. I think that they are losing legitimacy. And I think that the fact that they're losing legitimacy is going to be ignored by the media, at least the mainstream media. The mainstream media does not want this to come out, particularly the documentary you mentioned by Candace Owens. They don't want the fact that they are spending or have spent all this money. They want to keep it as quiet as possible. So both things are going to happen.
All right. What are your thoughts on this, Yana? Do you feel like BLM still has the power they had about 2 years ago, or are they losing legitimacy?
Well, first of all, I do think that the leftist media will try to ignore these revelations. However, whenever BLM will be needed to instigate some sort of riot or some sort of racial tension, they will be sponsored, they will be called upon again. So I'm not surprised that they're spending money on themselves, because what else are they doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this, T? BLM, are they still a powerful organization within the Democrat Party and Black America, or are they starting to lose their legitimacy?
You know how there are some people who try to pretend like they have this high self-esteem, but really down low they're masking the fact that they don't have high self-esteem. That's kind of what I think the Black Lives Matter organization is. It was a hype, and it was a hype because they had a purpose, which, I don't think they were ever that powerful in the first place. It was just a hype. And I think that it's inevitable that they're going to lose this fake power because they weren't real from the beginning. Real recognizes real.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this, Colleen? Is Black Lives Matter still a legitimate organization, or have they lost some of that power in the Black community and amongst Democrats?
Well, unfortunately, this should be pretty damning stuff. This should be, the cherry on the cake for most. But I worry that I don't believe that many Daily Wire subscribers are Black, unfortunately. I think that the demographics aren't going to be to a large Black audience. So I don't think this is going to get to the people who need to see it. And that's the unfortunate part about it, because at the end of the day, Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens need to make $1, of course. But also, this information is so important. And they have released films for free in the past. And I really hope that they will consider releasing this one. It's still not too late. I know that they have done it where they've decided later that they'll release it for free or something like that, so I hope that they will. I think they will, because this is so important. I mean, she's talking to George Floyd's family. I mean, people need to see this stuff, and not everybody wants to pay to be a Daily Wire subscriber. I mean, I love Daily Wire, but I'm obsessed with that stuff. So not everybody wants to watch more than just that. Some people really just want to watch the documentary.
Mm-hmm. All right. We have here, let's see here. I'm going to go to some of the comments. Chris says here, T is right. BLM are grifters. They certainly are. I mean, if out of all the last year has really been a huge, I told you so, for conservatives. I mean, from the COVID-19, numbers have come out saying these lockdowns didn't do anything. It wasn't most people who passed away, which is still any life loss is terrible, but it overwhelmingly affected people, I think like 70 or 65 and older. But we locked down closed schools, locked down the country for over a year. And now BLM. I mean, if you said something bad about BLM 2 years ago, you were ridiculed. I mean, you know, people.
Yeah.
I was hated for speaking out against the riots. I received the utmost cancellation hate online for it. I got the typical cancellation online. I got it good because I was like, why are we burning cities? What's going on right now? You're a racist. What's wrong with you? I was like,
because they confuse the saying Black Lives Matter with the organization, because we've been telling them about the organization for a while now, especially when they collected money or funds based on the deaths of Black men when they didn't even represent Black men. It was clearly on their website. We started exposing them a long time ago. But now, so that's why I said it was inevitable that they were going to go down.
What the left does, they do these play on words. Planned Parenthood. So Planned Parenthood, but they're not planning. They're not parents. They're killing babies.
They're not planning parenthood.
Anti-fascist, but being a fascist.
Right. You know, and Black Lives Matter, when really they were talking about, they weren't, I mean, the number one killer of Black people as far as Black Lives Matter, if you want to talk about crime, isn't the police. It's gang violence. It's crime within the communities. And
it's other Black people. It's other Black people.
So it was just, but you couldn't say that. You
feminist when you're not even feminine.
Exactly.
Being feminist when you're not even feminine.
Right, and the amount of abortions that Black women have each year, if Black lives actually mattered, they'd care about that, but they don't at all.
No, they don't.
Well, I'm glad to see, hopefully the Marxist ideas will show up in this documentary, hopefully, and because that's what it is they're just using, they chose the Black race in order to use them to push their own agenda for other things. I mean, Black people were not really on their priority to help their lives. It was not Black people at all. It was really to push Marxist ideas.
Yeah. I think BLM is going to be used. I think Yana said they're going to use them, or T. They're going to, the left is going to use BLM. I'm going to say similarly to how the Democrats use the KKK. They're going to use the BLM to do a lot of their rioting, causing mayhem. Again, anything that is going to cause destruction, chaos, confusion, anything. That's what they're going to use them for. So they're going to be an arm, a steady arm of the left when and where they're needed.
Yeah. And it's so easy. They're so, I mean, and I'm sorry to say, but it's not the first time that I've said it, and probably won't be the last, that Black people are so gullible. They will believe anything that they hear and not look up the facts for themselves or online. And, you know, like the lady was crying, and she's crying because the Black Lives Matter leader was crying because when Candace Owens showed up to her apartment or her house or whatever, she was like, oh, she was doing this and doing that. And Candace Owens showed a very different perspective on camera, not lies, of what happened. And so that's where we're trying to tell them, look at the facts.
We have the clip here.
Please show it so I can laugh.
Take a look.
This morning, I woke up to Candace Owens being outside of my house with a news crew. She was demanding that I come outside.
Hello. I was just looking to speak to whoever is at this property because it's listed as the Black Lives Matter property. Sir? Hello?
The fact that she's came outside my house and demanded things, harassed me, is unacceptable.
We're not trying to harass you. We'll gladly leave. We're just wondering if we can speak to anybody.
Y'all, I really need my family to be safe. I need to be safe. I need my child to be safe. And this, what happened this morning is not safety.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Just That's one example. That's just one example of the emotional games that they play.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I really need to be safe.
But these BLM founders, all they are a bunch of spoken word artists. So you get this from these spoken words. She thinks she's on stage.
She had big tears.
And she limited her comments on the Instagram live feeds because everybody would have commented on it like, yeah, right, whatever. They would have dragged her if they had actually.
I asked her to come on the show. I sent a comment asking her to come on the show, talk to us.
I did too. I sent her a message. I said, "Can you and your mole come on the show?
No.
And we'd love to have you guys. We'd love to have you."
She had big tears. Oh my gosh! I mean, they were just dropping down like.
Yeah.
Did you see?
That's why she was speaking so slowly in the beginning. She's trying to work it up. She probably was sticking her finger on a tap.
Yo,
did you see tears? I didn't see any tears.
Yeah, she had some tears.
Oh, later on in the video.
Crazy.
The safety of her children when she didn't come outside.
Yeah, I thought she's crazy. And then she noticed she kept licking her lips. So as she licked her lips, she would bite it, trying to get some type of tears flowing. This is what she did. This is what she did. So it's sad. It's sad. I hope and pray that Democrats, Black people, leftists, leftists are waking up to this con. This scam. It's a scam. It's a con. Don't fall for it. Do not fall for it. If you already gave your money to them,
get a refund.
I don't think you can get a refund.
Look, BLM is the modern version of Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson doing the shakedowns, the corporate shakedowns.
Yeah.
That's BLM is just a new version of that.
Yeah. But like I said, a bunch of spoken word artists that are just trying to use and play on your emotions, and they didn't, and to get money.
Is that your reenactment, Shelly, of the?
I don't feel safe.
Yeah, what'd she say? We are vulnerable,
y'all.
She demanded to come that I come outside.
Yeah,
I've never heard of those types of demands.
We're not trying to harass you.
Oh yeah, she said that she was being harassed.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, they will support and advocate for protesters to go to the Supreme Court justices' homes and with bullhorns and
right,
screaming and hollering at them
when it's convenient. They're convenient,
and they're not cheering to save Black lives either. That's the irony there.
No,
that's the most ironic part about all that. They're not.
She saved her baby daddy's life. That he wouldn't have almost $1 million. She has about 2 million and some other people. So she saved their lives, her family's lives.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
isn't she behind a gate? Like, isn't that a secured, gated home?
Most of these people, most of these Black people that complain about Black people are being killed and all this type of stuff and racism, they holler racism behind everything. They don't even live in the city. They don't even live around Black people. This woman lives in a gated home or gated community around white people.
And she has 24/7 security.
Right. Mm-hmm. So they're race baiting this entire time, and they don't even see Black people probably for weeks on the time. Only the people that live in their homes.
But she has to be right with her community. Yeah. She wants to make sure she's going to be right with her community.
Oh God, it's infuriating. It really is. That's why
it really is.
I can't.
Her too. And we'll go another hour if I get off on this too much. Marilyn Mosby. We need to talk about her. She is Black Lives Matter. She is the same, no different than Patrisse Cullors. They prey on Black people, and whenever you point out what they're doing, so now as we see, Patrisse Cullors has been, Black Lives Matter organization has been found out to be a fraud. They spent all this money on nothing to do with Black people other than their family and friends. And if you mention or say something about it, then you're racist. Or if you're Black and you say it, you're Uncle Tom. Same thing, same playbook Marilyn Mosby has used. When you say something about her not prosecuting crime, not doing her job, you're racist. You hate women. The same playbook.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's no different. It's no
different because Black women don't want to be held accountable. It goes back to that. I mean, no matter what their leadership role is or isn't, just don't want to be held accountable. They just want to keep blaming on stuff that doesn't matter, whether it be the men, whether it be the white people, the Republicans, whomever they want to blame. They don't take accountability for the stuff that they do themselves.
So T, is that what you
I
mean
don't
by
feel
culture?
safe with that comment.
That is.
Is that what you mean? No, is
generally,
that what you mean by culture?
Generally, it is. Yeah.
But is that something that their race produced?
No, that's learned.
It seems like it.
Are we predisposed to that, Yana? Right.
That's my question.
Seems like it.
Is that what you think, T? Is that Black skin predisposes people?
Because you can't necessarily only be predisposed to things that are good.
Because
right?
they have, in this case, because it's still a part of that victimhood and oppression. So they need to find somebody to blame and not themselves, because of course we're perfect.
But that's learned.
I don't think so. I think it has something to do with the leftists. These leftist people who are
well, yeah.
And again, the Marxist mentality. They're trying to create this antagonistic environment between the races. I don't think this is what do you call it? They're doing this on purpose. This is purposeful. I believe they realize that this is not the case, but they know that some people believe it. And so they're doing this to create antagonism between the races to eventually tear the whole thing down and start over with Marxism. That's what I think it is. And so I wouldn't say this is Black women.
Shelly again.
Yeah, I would say this is a characteristic of those on the left. Those on the left, they're preying on Black people. This is intentional, and I don't want to make excuses for Black people, but it takes a very strong mind to recognize it, because this is an intentional, systemic. This is systemic, intentional, systematic way they are going about this to exploit Black people, to prey on their emotions in hopes of creating a whole new structure, a whole new system, which is going to be Marxist based. This is what they're doing. So Black people, actually, you have to be very on guard, because this is being done with intention.
Yeah.
And it's not just something that just happens. They're intentionally trying to scam and trying to use the Black community.
Yeah, I think that they purposely keep predominantly Black areas with those schools. I think they purposely keep them undereducated on purpose. I think that is a whole plan. I really do think that. I think
it's a plan, not by who they say. They're saying it's white supremacists, racist people who are doing this. No, it is not that. It is actually from within the communities, from within these structures, from within these areas, these cities that are doing this.
I mean, it's Brandon Scott, it's Marilyn Mosby, it's Lori Lightfoot, it's Eric Adams, it's Stacey Abrams. Well, she never really actually ran for anything, but I mean, the list, we can name a few. So I mean, London Breed,
George Soros Foundation, all of them.
Yeah.
And that's why they hate specifically Black conservatives, because we put we put a wrench in the system.
Yeah, you plant the seed.
Right. Because now they can't use skin color. You know, because we have come out against this and are thinking differently. And if this starts to catch hold, this is a real issue for them.
And it is. And that's why they have to be selective or work harder now to against their own agenda.
And that's why the censorship is so important on the left, because if they allow
cancel,
right, critically thinking, if they allow people to go against the narrative that they're trying to plant, then the whole house crumbles.
Right,
the whole house crumbles. So again, this is why we're here. This is why we're here. Together, all of us as women, we're women on the show, not Black, not white, Americans. We are Americans. We are people that care about our country, about our communities, and we just want we want to uncover all of the lies.
You people.
The truth. So that brings us to the end of the show, ladies. Any last thoughts? All right. So thanks again for watching, audience. Let me go to some of the comments here. All right. Let's see here. We have Stephen, who says, yes, Yana, it's Marxism. Yes, it is. Yana, you have a fan here, this Stephen guy. I assume he's a man. So let's see here.
By the way, we keep referring to this book that everybody should read. It's called Color, Communism, and Common Sense. So we really recommend it, and to really understand why we keep bringing up Marxism. It's in the Black community. So that is something that we should do. Americans should look into, because that's a real danger that has come to other countries from outside. So like when people think of Russia, they think of communism. Communism didn't come out of Russia. Communism was brought into Russia, and it was infiltrated. And so the same thing is happening in America and has been happening for decades.
Yeah, you're right. We have here, Ian says, a lot of these Black pundits on the left is on the payroll. Yeah, exactly. Bought and paid for.
The women of The View, absolutely Biden cheerleaders. They did it today. The inflation isn't his fault. It's not his fault.
Yeah. If it was Trump, it would be all his fault.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it still is his fault somehow.
Actually. Yeah, they do. Yeah, still. And then here you have Ian. What y'all think about the new press secretary? I'll tell you.
Oh my gosh!
Like I said,
country is being ran by Black women.
Do you guys ever get into situations where you see a train wreck, but you just like, oh, don't.
It's like,
this is how I feel.
I think she was trained by Kamala Harris.
Right.
Oh, she is tough to watch.
Oh my gosh.
I feel sorry for her. She doesn't know what she's doing.
No, she's like, oh, this is such a great position. I'm so excited to be here. And it's like, you have the worst job in America, girl.
No, Colleen, she said that she was an immigrant gay woman.
Yeah. No, yeah, she checked all boxes.
That's why she did.
Immigrant Black woman. She's like,
it's painful. It's painful to watch her.
It's very painful to watch.
It's painful to watch her.
Yeah, yeah.
Jen Psaki could bullshit.
And it's only been It's only been 2 days.
I know.
It's
only been 2 or 3 days.
I don't think she's gonna last. I mean, I think that they would have been better hiring Omarosa.
Yeah.
No, for real.
Yeah.
No, they should have hired us.
Yeah.
Well, we're not Democrats. Omarosa's a Democrat now.
That's true.
She's doing the oh, it's bad.
Look.
She's not good at lying.
She's just reading. She's like reading. She can't even read the words. Like, oh my gosh.
That's equity for you.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. I mean, if we're looking at affirmative action here, just to say that, hey, we have a black woman here, we have a black woman here, we have a black person.
They're not picking the best.
I know. They're like,
that's not the goal. That's not meritocracy.
I like to see. It's nice to see a woman, somebody different. It is. It's nice to see it.
Yeah.
But she's no good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's awful. Every time I watch her, it's almost like watching somebody walk across a floor in heels and the floor is slicked with oil, and you're like, oh. I'm just like waiting for her. It's almost like Amelia Bedelia, watching Amelia Bedelia get through a story without falling or running into something.
She's going to be talking in word salads like Kamala. She's going to be talking in word salad soon. Yeah. We need to work together and unite.
She's already been doing together. That for 3 days.
No, and I did what I wanted to. I don't agree with them, but it was nice seeing somebody up there like that. But yeah,
one thing I'll give them credit for. I will give them credit for. Same thing with Jen Psaki. She does call on Fox News. They will call on Peter Doocy or whoever.
I believe, don't they?
Yeah. No, they can choose who they want, but I will give them credit for that. They usually do call on Fox Peter Doocy, but they're just not prepared for him.
Yeah, no, they're not. She don't do anybody justice. No, she's not good at all. That's why we.
Okay. Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
What was that?
Oh, I've seen this years ago. This is amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
That's how she is. It's almost like watching that.
It reminds me of girls I'd be friends with in high school or something, Not anymore, but
I
can't find it because it's not on a map in Iraq and stuff.
To me, it was like a wash between her and Jen Psaki. Jen Psaki had a better, she was really quick with the tongue, but this might not be something nice to say, but I thought Jen Psaki was the ugliest woman I've seen in a long time.
She got eyelashes and stepped up her game for a while there, I noticed. I was like,
okay. An ugly one.
Yeah, but she's not a very, very pretty woman, no.
No. I don't care what anybody says. If you got a woman on there, you at least want to look like something.
Right. She's a better liar, though. She's a better liar.
Yeah, she is.
She tells lies better. That's the only difference. That's why she was a better
doll. Bride of Chucky.
Yeah, definitely.
A skinny version. All right, guys, we gotta go. So please continue to the conversation by checking us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and subscribe. That way you get up-to-the-minute content when we post. And we appreciate the support. Each time you subscribe, it does widen our net of viewership. So certainly share this video and comment throughout, even after we're off tonight, comment. So we can definitely reach, see, I'm having this woman. I got the spirit of this press secretary on me now for calling Jen Psaki ugly. So this is what I get. We are an independent media, and each time you subscribe, it helps make our voice that much stronger. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. Check us out on our website at www.metroconservativemedia.com for up-to-date information. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. Yes, once again. So, thank you so much for watching tonight. Until next week, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Peace out.